Alright guys, welcome back to another one of our vlogs. Today I am on call as the chief resident of the Pediatric Neurosurgery service here in Columbus, and I'm going to take you along with me today and show you what the day is like. I've got my handy dandy pager here. Hopefully it doesn't go off too much, but we'll see how the day goes. It's about 6 o'clock right now. I've come in, I've got the sign out from the overnight resident about any updates that happened overnight for any of our patients, any new patients who we had to admit to the hospital, any new consults that we've gotten. And now I'm beginning to chart review for any other overnight events, look at the vitals, look at the labs, look at the imaging for all of our patients. We have a case scheduled for a little bit later this morning, in about an hour, so I'm going to finish doing my chart review. I'm going to go around on the patients, and then I'm going to get ready for surgery. Our surgery today is for a baby who had an enlarging head and was found to have hydrocephalus. And so a lot of times these children are tracked by their pediatricians. And one of the things that the pediatricians look for when assessing the baby in the well child visits is head circumference. And so, we expect babies' heads to grow larger as they grow in size, but any baby whose head grows larger than sort of the standard growth rate alerts us for some concern. And so those kids often get evaluated and have imaging ordered. This particular baby showed on the ultrasound the ventricles, which are the fluid spaces in the brain, those were quite enlarged. And so we had some concern for hydrocephalus, and we had some concern for some sort of blockage in the drainage system of the brain. And so we ordered an MRI scan, which then confirmed that there was a blockage in the drainage system. And so today, after discussing with the family, we elected to place a shunt for that child. And so that's our case for today. So I'm going to finish looking through the charts, finish rounding, and then I'll get changed into scrubs, and I'll see you guys in a little bit. Just finished rounding on everybody, and now I am all changed. I'm gonna head to the OR and we're gonna do our case. I'll see you guys later. Alright, so it's about 10:45 now. We just finished our shunt surgery for the patient I was talking about earlier. Surgery went very well. One of the ways we're able to judge the pressure inside the head is by checking the fontanelle. Basically, that's the soft spot on the head for a baby. And so one thing that's very nice to see in babies is that before surgery, the fontanelle is very firm and full, and then once you place the shunt, now that there's no more pressure, a lot of that fluid has been drained off. You can kind of immediately see the difference in the fontanelle of the baby, indicating that the pressure in the head is much lower. So that's always really gratifying to see. So I just dropped the baby off in the PACU. I gave the sign out to the nurses over there. They'll recover in the PACU for about an hour or so, then they'll come back up to the floor, and we'll kind of continue the post-operative care there on the floor. For me, the rest of my job now, I'm going to finish working on my notes for all the patients that I saw in the morning, and then I have a couple of discharges to do. So patients that are going home, I'm going to make sure all of their medications are reconciled, give them prescriptions for any new medications they might need, and then send them home with instructions for follow-up and wound care and all those sorts of things as well. In the meantime, I've gotten a couple of pages which the nurses in the OR were able to answer for me from my pager, and so I have my pager with me now. So if I get any additional pages while I'm working on things, I'll respond to those. And also if any new consults come in, I will talk to the teams and go see those as well. But for me, for now, I'll just kind of continue working on my notes, tidy up some of the paperwork, and then that'll be pretty much it, unless I get anything new that comes in.
Just call you when the moon is rising. I'm craving every moment with you.
It's about 2 o'clock now. I just had my lunch. I had a turkey burger. I sat outside today because it was really nice weather. Enjoyed some sun, enjoyed some fresh air. Have a couple of pages to return, and so I'm gonna get back and do those, and then go through the list of my patients and tidy up any loose ends that are remaining to be done. So it's about 4 o'clock, pretty much done for the afternoon. So I have my laptop, I brought some work to do, working on an application. So I'm gonna start working on that. But in the meantime, I have a little bit of time. I wanted to talk to you guys about sort of the difference that I've noticed in my time here as a chief resident of pediatric neurosurgery compared to my time in the first 6 months of this year, where I was one of the chief residents of the different services in adult neurosurgery. Wanted to talk to you guys a little bit about the differences between the two hospitals. So I would say the first difference that I've noticed is the types of cases. In adults, the majority of cases that I have seen tend to be brain tumors which are metastatic in nature, meaning that tumors that have originated from somewhere else in the body, such as the breast, the colon, the prostate, the lung, and then have spread or metastasized to the brain. So from these other sites into the brain. That's probably one of the most common types of surgeries we do at the adult hospital. And the other most common type of surgeries, generally speaking, that we do tends to be spine surgery, and mostly regarding spine, it tends to be degenerative type pathologies or wear and tear type of pathologies on the spine. And so adults who have 40, 50, 60 years old, many years walking, bending, twisting, that puts strain and stress on the joints of the spine, on the discs of the spine, on the bones as well. And so the spine can undergo a lot of wear and tear, and sometimes there can be changes related to that. And so a lot of times spine surgery, neurosurgery for adults tends to be spine surgery to correct degenerative changes, which can cause back pain, which can cause compression on the nerves, or the nerves get squeezed. And so basically what we do as neurosurgeons, we try to decompress those nerves, make sure they're free, which then helps patients recover from pain from the nerves being compressed. And also if there's any instability or movement in the spine, we then also do fusion procedures to reduce that movement, and oftentimes that can help to alleviate some back pain as well. The other big difference in the pediatric hospital is the family dynamics. In adults, it tends to be much more straightforward. You have the patient, you discuss with the patient, and they're kind of the primary person who you talk to, who you discuss the plan with. Pediatrics is much more family centered. Many times the families obviously are making the decisions. They have a lot more questions, and so that dynamic is quite different. A lot more conversations, a lot more explaining have to be done to make sure that we're all on the same page and we're all in agreement with the plan. The third thing that I've noticed is the pace at which things happen. I think at pediatric hospitals, things tend to, just by nature, happen more slowly, just because the families need to be discussed with. Even simple things like what may take matter of seconds in an adult, such as getting an IV. In a pediatric patient, it tends to be a much bigger deal because these things can be much more difficult in pediatric patients. And lastly, the thing I want to talk about is the physiology is different. The number one rule of pediatrics is that kids are not baby adults, and so that's very important. A 2-year-old's physiology is different than a 6-year-old's physiology is different than a 15-year-old's physiology, and so all of these things are very, very different. And in pediatrics, we take care of patients from all those ages, so it's very important to sort of be aware of changes and of differences that the patients have at those different ages. So with that, I'm going to start wrapping up. I'm going to work on my application, and then we'll see how the rest of the evening goes. And the last thing about neurosurgery is we spend a lot of time in the hospital on call. We work up to 80 hours each week and every week. Unless we're on vacation, we get 3 weeks of vacation per year. So we do spend a lot of time in the hospital, but there are times when we do have some downtime. Recently been listening to this album by The Weeknd called Dawn. It's Weeknd is one of my favorite artists. So I'm going to listen to this album while I work on my application, and you might see me singing and dancing, and that's because when you do spend a lot of time on call, you find ways to keep yourself entertained, and that's one of the ways I do for myself. Alright guys, it is about 3:30 in the morning now. I've had a couple of consults from the ER. There was a kid who fell, so it's the middle of, well, not the middle, it's the beginning of summer. And what that means, once the temperatures get warm, especially here in Ohio, kids start getting on their bikes, they start playing baseball, they start riding ATVs. That's kind of the most notorious thing. So kids fall off these ATVs and they end up getting skull fractures and having subdural hematomas, traumatic subarachnoid hemorrhages. Just had a kid who fell off ATV. He has a skull fracture and a subdural hematoma. Another one who fell off the bike has a traumatic subarachnoid hemorrhage. And so a couple of those consults from overnight, went and saw those, and getting ready for to do my notes for those kids. I've already talked to the teams and communicated our plans, talked to our attending. And so moving forward with things for those patients. And I wanted to share with you one of the biggest compliments that I got in the ER. One of the nurses, when I was down there, as I was walking by, she said, "Oh, you must be ortho, right?" And inside I felt very happy with that, because maybe all of my working out and finally having some results. So anyways, just thought I would share that with you. Got a couple of more hours left of my overnight call, and I will then be signing out to the next resident who's coming on for the next 25 hours, and then I'll be able to get to go home and get some rest. So I'm gonna end the vlog here, and hope you enjoyed seeing this. Hope it was informative, and hope to be able to share with you more things coming soon. Bye.
Didn't care about the rules, good on the weekends. I'll be in fools, drifting to deep space. So brave and so stupid, just like the movies. How it's gonna stay in the fight with you. Just thinking we would do this until we couldn't do it. Each and every high, every night with you. You and me so clueless. We were just broken, shattered, singing along to nothing matters. Stray around.